I thought this was so big time of Laura. Like I said, Laura will go and do stuff for Steve that most people wouldn't, and she goes far and beyond. And some of that is because Laura knows him in a greater way, right? Laura knows him in a more intimate way without actually being intimate, right? That's powerful. Steve and Laura know each other in an intimate way without actually being intimate. It's because they've had intimate moments. It's because they're open. They talk. You know what I'm saying? They go to each other for advice. You know what I'm saying? So you learn these things about a person. We always think that you got to be intimate, like with a bed, to be intimate. No, you don't. You can have an intimate relationship with somebody, and not being intimate in any way, because you're talking to them, you're learning, you're leaning, you're growing, and all those things. So we see this here with Steve, and I think this is such a beautiful moment. And this is why, again, I will reiterate what I said. Purpose is so important. You know what I'm saying? And who is surrounded around you matters, because who's surrounded around you is going to determine how far you can go or how far you can fail. Like that stuff matters, right? Who you're doing life with, who you have surrounded around you, those things matter. When we look on it with Laura, whoo, gosh, this gets me excited because I just love it, right? When we go on it with Laura, where, you have Steve's situation where his parents weren't acknowledging his birthday. You don't know I didn't put the whole story up here, but Laura's making calls and for people to come to Steve's birthday party, and she couldn't get anybody. Everybody was clicking on her. Everybody was laughing at her, So what did Laura do? This is what I'm saying. Because she was going to make sure Steve was celebrated, okay? She was going to make sure Steve was celebrated. So what did she do? She made her family celebrate him. They had no intention of doing that, right? She made her, Carl even said, "Why she got my name on the list? I'm not going." And that's what I say time and time again, is that Laura levels Steve up. Right? She levels him up. She takes things to another level. What do you mean by leveling up? Leveling up by the simple fact that she got people all around him that would not normally celebrate him, celebrating him. That is a level up, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I keep saying, when it comes to Steve and Laura, in these situations, I'm going to show you something in a minute, but in these situations, there's a lot of times, I said this before, where Laura actually shows more grace for Steve than her father does. Laura is sometimes a better example than her father is. But I want to check this out when it comes to leveling up and understanding the value of the people around you. Check this out.
I'm a little old school, so some of y'all, this is going to be too old for you, but a few of y'all will catch it. I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. I'm good all by myself, but you make me better. Is there anybody in the room today that says, "I want somebody that makes me better"?
Do not pick partnerships based on pleasure. You pick partnerships based on purpose. And I think that's where a lot of people get messed up. There are a lot of people you can be compatible with, but they're not going the same direction as you. And it's hard to think purpose when you have not spent enough time with yourself personally.
And that was Dr. Darius Daniels and you see Michael Todd, and they're both talking about purpose. And what Darius was talking about is, you want to be around somebody that makes you better. And this is when I'm talking about what does that have to do with Steve, Carl, and Laura? It has everything to do. Laura has a purpose with Steve. Steve is a part of Laura's purpose. Laura is a part of Steve's purpose. And it's a bond and a connection that they already have right now that the rest of the family doesn't understand. And I don't think they will understand until way later on. And we'll show it way later on. They'll start to understand it. But for a very long time, they won't. And so that's why Laura vacillates between hot and cold with Steve. Because on one end, this is what my family's doing. On the other end, this is the connection I have with them. I'm called to this dude. This dude is a part of my purpose. I have a connection with him. I don't know how it got there, but it is there, And so that's why I said too, why Laura tends to sometimes be the greater example, because, Carl will bark at Steve. Laura will bark at Steve, but Laura's so much grace. Laura shows so much more grace in trying to get it right. Look at some of these clips.
Steve, you broke my favorite ornament. Look, I don't want you over here on Christmas morning. In fact, I don't want you over here ever again.
Just gotta look at this.
Who is it?
Laura.
Oh, wow.
It's Laura.
Just a minute.
And remember, this is the Laura that kicked him out and said don't want him on Christmas or this and that. And where's she at right now? Okay. Just pointing this out, looking at some of this stuff, that there are times where Laura is the example, even over her dad at times. Making things right.
Hello, Steve.
Oh, Laura, my Christmas cookie. Why, you look prettier than a partridge in a pear tree.
So you're spending Christmas all alone?
Yep.
Would you like to spend Christmas Eve at our house?
With you?
Yes.
And your family?
Yes.
Oh.
Maybe you can even stay overnight.
Oh.
Looking at these examples that Laura will maybe not get it right or get it wrong rather, but she'll always get it right. And if you notice, she'll always take it up a notch. And we just got to look at the differences.
Steve, go home.
Now, Carol,
Go home. Go home, go home, go home, go home. And don't you ever come back.
You win. I'll never come over to your house again.
Well, no, I don't want that.
And don't come back. Ever. Steve, I overreacted. And I'd like you to forgive me.
Wow. An apology?
Do you see what I see? That's old school right there. But do you see the differences? First of all, the similarities in Laura and Carl, right? And how they handle Steve. Again, looking at the impact of the father. But look at how, what I would say is, where Laura's the example is in her graciousness. Laura just said here, Steve, I overreacted and I would like you to forgive me. That is so deep. And versus Carl is a little bit more grudging with his, apologies.
Get out.
Now, Carl.
Get out.
Now, look, I realize you're upset.
Get out. I've had it with you, Steve. You stroll in here, you destroy my garage. Well, that is it. I want you out of my life and stay out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Steve.
There, was that so bad?
Yeah, it really was.
So we saw there, like father, like daughter, but not so much. You saw that Laura was gracious in asking for forgiveness and gracious, she was gracious in that. And that's why I say there are times where Laura is actually the example. And that's why she can go and throw this birthday party and some of the things that she does for Steve, because there are times where Laura falls in place with her family, right? Where she goes hot and cold, she falls in place because the impact of your family, the impact of your father, the impact of your environment, all that stuff, all those things around you impact you, right? But there's something that Laura has on the inside of her that God gave to her for Steve. So you'll see Laura be a lot more gracious, and she at times, and you'll see it more and more and more, is the greater example. You saw there with Carl, where Carl was, Steve said, see, it wasn't that bad to apologize. And Carl said, it really was. Laura's never said that. Laura wants to apologize and get it off her chest and get it right, and this is understanding sometimes that the kids can be the example at times in certain situations, and that's what Laura is. And she's getting her family, and I love it. She's getting her family to a place where they're accepting him more, and more and more, and just like I said, she was the one that got them doing all this right here, got them celebrating. None of these guys were thinking about celebrate good time. None of them was thinking about that. But Laura made all that happen. Got a cake with his face on it and his name on it. Not just a birthday cake where it just says happy birthday and blow out the candles. You know what I'm saying? But a birthday cake that has his face, that very detailed, thought through things, right? The people that are there, she tried to get other people, but the people that were there are the ones that mattered. And so this is Laura leveling Steve up. And again, just bringing it back around to understanding the purpose, the purpose of a thing and the purpose of a person being in your life. It is so impactful. Steve would have been at home dusting off stuff to this, to right now, if Laura did not come through in the way that she did here. It's just such an amazing, amazing thing. I just hope people are starting to really see, because again, everybody want to go at Laura with just, asinineness, right? Laura made Steve wait. And it's like, guys, the timing of things is very important. When you think about it in sports, the time that they pitch that ball, if they pitch it whenever they want to pitch it, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have some issues, okay? If you go and you see it in sports all the time in basketball. When they go and make a pass at the wrong time, it's a turnover. Like, I don't understand how people don't think that matters in life and in relationships. Those things matter. And so, I wanted to look at this to show the dynamic and to show that, the environment that Laura's in, although it's not a bad environment, it's a great home environment, moms and pops, but they're not always the best. It's not always the best environment when it looks at Steve and Laura together, and put it, and her really coming out and letting people know truly how she feels.
It shocked me.
She had done her share of living. She been out there.
I miss Steve Urkel.
Oh, you need professional help.
You even see that, interaction even with her aunt, where Laura kind of comes out a little bit. I miss Steve. And look at the response that she gets. So I just think people, when they want to go and make these lies and all this other type of stuff, and Laura was da-da-da-da-da, have you ever considered the family environment? Have you ever considered the father figure environment and his relationship with Steve and how it affects Steve and Laura and her family as a whole? Laura just, came out and said, hey, I miss him, and Rachel's response was, you need professional help. Something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? So this is the inner war that goes on the inside of Laura, because Laura's called to Steve. Steve is a part of her purpose, but then you got the family that's a part of her purpose as well. And so those situations can be very uncomfortable. And can we get real? When people like Laura made Steve wait and all this other type of stuff. Now, I do understand people fall in love young, you know what I'm saying? And all that stuff. They fall in love and all that. But they end up doing some stuff too. Okay. You know what I'm saying? They end up doing some stuff before the wedding night. They end up doing some stuff before they get the marriage bed going without the marriage. Okay. Some stuff go down. So this is what I'm talking about too. When it comes to Steve and Laura, you want them to get together now for what? Oh, so they can date and date. Hey, do you guys know dating? If y'all the biblical way of it, dating is to marry, right? Look at got Steve on this is what I'm talking about. This is who he gonna end up marrying. Somebody that took time out and such detail on that cake. But dating is for marriage. So remember, that is what Steve is proposing to Laura, is marriage. So what are they really going to do right now from what they're not already doing? No, what y'all want Steve and Laura to do is get together right now, you know what I'm saying, and make that bed move. That's what y'all want. But Steve wants Laura, all of Laura, and only in marriage the way God would have it. So again, I'll just ask the question, what are Steve and Laura actually missing out on right now? Because there is a friendship. And this is nothing too that I think people never noticed again when they say Laura made Steve wait. Do you realize throughout this whole thing, Laura is fostering friendship? She is fostering friendship. Okay? Laura did Steve. Laura wasn't giving Steve no play on a romantic level right now. Yes. But she continues to foster friendship. And she continues to show Steve in front of everybody his value. That's what Laura just did here. Got the man a cake with his face on it and made them sing happy birthday to him and celebrate him. Laura shows other people, Steve's value as she's showing it to him. Steve just wants a romantic, he want to be able to hold hands and kissity kiss, but he doesn't realize, how long he would have to do that with Laura before they got married. Things are going to become more difficult. They're going to become more difficult when you go and you date this young and you're not ready for marriage. The Bible says don't awaken love before it's time, right? So even with that type of stuff, y'all act like Steve was, catching L's because a friendship was being, was building between Steve and Laura, which is what a lot of marriages don't have today. You have a marriage, but you don't have a friendship. God always intended for whoever you were. That's why God said, till death do you part. Because you doing life with your best friend. That's how he intended it. Some of the things to consider and just looking at the dynamic of Steve, Laura, and Urkel. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, love God, love people. May God bless you. May God keep you.